What if having $3 million in retirement could still leave you afraid to spend $100? Most Americans think a bigger portfolio automatically means a better retirement, but wealth on paper and usable wealth are not the same thing. Some retirees have less invested yet feel more secure because their income is predictable. Welcome to American Dream Finance. In this video, we'll break down why this happens, what may be making your wealth feel unusable, and how to build a retirement you can actually enjoy. Stay until the end because I'll show you a simple way to measure usable wealth, not just your account balance. The problem: a big portfolio can still feel unusable. Here is one of the strangest problems in retirement. You can have $3 million in retirement accounts and still feel like you cannot afford dinner. Not because you're actually broke, not because the money isn't there, but because every dollar you spend has to come out of an account that you have spent decades protecting. For 30 or 40 years, you were taught the same basic lesson: save more, invest consistently, don't touch the principal. That behavior helped build your retirement. Then retirement begins, and suddenly the rules change. Now you're supposed to do the exact opposite. You're supposed to take money out. And for some retirees, that feels almost unnatural. Imagine you have $3 million invested. The market falls 15%. You watch your account drop by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Then a few weeks later, you withdraw another $5,000 for a vacation. Mathematically, that withdrawal may be completely manageable. Emotionally, it can feel like you are making the situation worse. That's the problem. The size of your portfolio is not the same thing as your willingness to use it. And this is where a very important distinction comes in. Wealth on paper is not always usable wealth. J.P. Morgan's recent retirement research gives us a fascinating look at this. In its analysis of households with $1 million to $3 million in total retirement wealth, J.P. Morgan compared spending behavior based on how much of that wealth came from guaranteed income. The spending differences were significant. Households with 20 to 40% of their retirement wealth coming from guaranteed income had median annual spending of about $49,650. Those with 40 to 60% spent about $64,420. And households with 60 to 80% coming from guaranteed income spent about $71,710. That's roughly 44% higher spending between the lowest and highest groups. Now, this does not mean guaranteed income automatically makes someone spend 44% more. That's an important correction to the way this data is sometimes presented. J.P. Morgan's research is based on observed spending and wealth data. It shows a strong relationship. It does not prove that increasing guaranteed income will cause a specific person to spend 44% more.
There can be other differences between these households, but the pattern is still extremely interesting. People with similar amounts of total retirement wealth can behave very differently depending on how that wealth is structured. And that's the part most retirement conversations miss. Think about two American retirees. The first has $3 million almost entirely invested in a portfolio. On paper, that person looks incredibly wealthy, but every month, the retiree has to decide how much to withdraw. If the market is doing well, spending feels easier. If the market is falling, spending suddenly feels dangerous. Now imagine another retiree who has less money sitting in an investment account. Maybe they have Social Security, a pension, or another reliable lifetime income source covering a large portion of their basic expenses. Their investment portfolio may be smaller, but their monthly cash flow feels predictable. The first retiree owns more assets. The second retiree may have more spending confidence. That difference matters because retirement is not a spreadsheet. You don't experience retirement as a net worth statement. You experience it through everyday decisions. Can we go out to dinner tonight? Can we visit the grandkids? Can we take the trip we've been talking about for 5 years? Can I replace this car without feeling guilty? Can I spend $8,000 on a vacation without worrying that I'm damaging my future? Those are real retirement questions, and a portfolio balance doesn't automatically answer them. In fact, a large portfolio can sometimes create a strange psychological problem. The more valuable the portfolio becomes, the more painful every withdrawal can feel. You look at $3 million and think, I worked my entire life to build this. Then you spend $10,000. Now you see $2.99 million. The number went down. Your brain notices the loss. It doesn't necessarily care that the money bought you a family vacation, a new roof, or 6 months of experiences you will remember for the rest of your life. The account balance is visible. The benefit of spending the money is harder to measure. That's why I think the better retirement question is not simply, how much money do I have? It is, how much of my wealth can I actually use with confidence? That is a completely different question, and it changes the way you should think about retirement planning. Because the goal isn't necessarily to reach the biggest possible number at age 70. The goal is to build a financial structure that allows you to spend, sleep, and live without constantly feeling threatened by the next market decline. JP Morgan's research is especially useful here because its definition of total retirement wealth includes both investable assets and the present value of certain future guaranteed income sources, including Social Security, pensions, and annuities. So two households can have similar total retirement wealth while having very different amounts sitting in investment accounts. That is the key distinction. One household might have a larger portfolio but less predictable income. Another might have a smaller portfolio but stronger lifetime income. And when retirement arrives, those two situations can feel completely different. This is why being rich on paper and being financially comfortable in real life are not always the same thing. The real retirement challenge is not just accumulating enough. It is learning how to turn what you accumulated into a life you are actually willing to live. And if you spend your entire retirement protecting the portfolio from every possible decline, there is a very real risk of reaching the end with a very impressive account balance and realizing you were too afraid to use it. That is the problem we need to solve. Not how to build the biggest portfolio, how to make the wealth you already built feel usable. So, how do you actually fix this? The answer is not to suddenly start spending recklessly, and it is not to move your entire retirement portfolio into guaranteed income. The goal is much simpler. Build a retirement income system that makes your money easier to use. Start by separating your retirement money into two different jobs. Your portfolio is there for growth, flexibility, emergencies, large expenses, and long-term spending. Your guaranteed income is there to cover as much of your basic lifestyle as reasonably makes sense. That distinction can change how you experience your retirement. Think about your essential monthly expenses: housing, utilities, groceries, insurance, healthcare, transportation, basic living costs. Now ask a different question. How much of those expenses can be covered without depending on the stock market every month? For many Americans, Social Security is the starting point. And this is where the original discussion needs an important correction. Social Security is not simply free money or a guaranteed solution for everyone. Your claiming decision depends on your age, earnings history, marital situation, health, longevity expectations, taxes, and other factors. But it can provide something extremely valuable: a predictable lifetime income stream that is adjusted under Social Security's benefit rules for inflation. That predictability can reduce how much pressure you place on your investment portfolio. Let's say your household needs $70,000 a year to maintain its lifestyle. If Social Security provides $40,000, your portfolio does not have to produce the entire $70,000. You have a $40,000 income floor. Your investments are filling a smaller gap. That's psychologically different from looking at a $1.5 million portfolio and thinking, everything I need for the next 25 years has to come from this account. Now, that doesn't automatically mean you should delay Social Security. That's another place where retirement advice can become too simplistic. Waiting can increase your monthly benefit, but you have to give up benefits earlier and use other resources during the waiting period. The right decision depends on the household. The important lesson is broader. Treat Social Security as part of your retirement income strategy, not simply as a date on the calendar. The same principle applies to a pension. If you have a pension option, don't automatically assume that the largest-looking lump sum is the better choice. A lump sum gives you control and flexibility. A lifetime income option can give you predictability. Those are different forms of value. The right choice depends on the specific pension, survivor benefits, inflation provisions, taxes, your other assets, and your family's needs. But don't make the decision simply because one number looks bigger. A larger account balance is not automatically a better retirement. There is another practical step that can make a huge difference. Create a spending plan that distinguishes between essential spending and discretionary spending. Your essential spending should be supported as reliably as possible. Your discretionary spending can come from the portfolio. That way, when the market drops, you don't have to panic and cut everything. Maybe you delay a major purchase. Maybe you reduce travel for 6 months. Maybe you simply take less from the portfolio during a bad market year. The point is to give yourself flexibility. You don't need every dollar of retirement spending to be guaranteed. You need enough stability that a market downturn doesn't make you feel like your entire retirement is falling apart. And this is where the idea of usable wealth becomes powerful. A $2 million portfolio isn't automatically $2 million of comfortable spending. Some of that money may need to remain invested. Some may be needed for healthcare. Some may be reserved for emergencies. Some may be subject to taxes when withdrawn. And some may simply be money you are psychologically unwilling to touch. So instead of asking only, "What's my net worth?" ask, "What amount can I reasonably spend this year without damaging the rest of my retirement plan?" That number is much more useful. For example, suppose you have $2 million invested. Your advisor tells you that your plan can support a certain withdrawal level. Don't just write that number down and forget about it. Turn it into an actual spending system. Maybe you establish a monthly amount for normal expenses, then create a separate annual amount for travel, gifts, hobbies, and experiences. Then keep a cash reserve for near-term needs. Now your retirement money has jobs. You are no longer staring at one giant $2 million number. You're looking at a system. Income for today, investments for tomorrow, cash for surprises, flexibility for the things that make life enjoyable. That structure can make a portfolio feel less like something you are protecting and more like something you are using. And there is one more thing I would strongly caution against. Don't assume that because someone else can safely spend $100,000 a year, you can too. Retirement spending depends on taxes, housing, healthcare, portfolio allocation, Social Security, longevity, family support, and many other variables. The same $2 million portfolio can support very different lifestyles for different households. So don't copy someone else's withdrawal number. Build your number around your life. And if you're considering an annuity, treat it as a tool, not a magic solution. You might use a portion of your assets to create additional guaranteed income. But before doing that, look carefully at the contract. Understand the fees. Understand whether payments increase with inflation. Understand liquidity restrictions. Understand survivor benefits. Understand what happens when you die. And understand exactly what you're giving up in exchange for the income. The goal isn't to guarantee every dollar. The goal is to create enough financial stability that you can actually use the rest. That's the real meaning of usable wealth. So let's make this practical. If you're retired or you're getting close to retirement, don't start by asking how big your portfolio needs to become. Start with 3 numbers. Number 1, what does your life actually cost? Look at your real spending from the last 12 months, not your estimate, not what you think you spend. Look at the actual numbers: housing, food, insurance, healthcare, transportation, travel, gifts, everything. Then separate that spending into two categories: needs and wants. Your needs are the expenses that don't disappear just because the stock market had a bad year. Your wants are the expenses you can adjust if necessary. That distinction gives you a much clearer picture of how much dependable income you actually need. Number 2, how much of your essential spending is already covered by reliable income? Add up your Social Security. Add a pension if you have one. Include other reliable lifetime income only after understanding exactly how it works. Then compare that income with your essential expenses. If your essential expenses are $60,000 a year and reliable income covers $45,000, your portfolio doesn't have to carry the entire retirement. It only needs to help cover the remaining gap along with your discretionary spending and other financial goals. That can change the way you look at your investments. Number 3, how much are you actually comfortable spending? This is the number people often ignore. You might have $2 million. Your financial plan might say you can spend more. But if you're still afraid to withdraw money, then your plan has a practical problem. The solution isn't necessarily to spend more immediately. The solution is to understand why you're afraid to spend. Are you worried about a market crash, long-term care, living to 95, taxes, leaving money to your children, or simply running out? Once you know the fear, you can plan around it. For example, if market volatility scares you, you may want enough safer assets or cash reserves to avoid selling investments during a major downturn. If longevity is your biggest concern, lifetime income may deserve more attention. If leaving money to your children is important, that needs to be part of the plan too. Your retirement plan should reflect what you are trying to protect, not just what you are trying to maximize. And here's the most important change I want you to make. Stop judging your retirement only by the size of your investment account. A portfolio is a tool. It is not the retirement itself. If you have $3 million but spend every day worrying about losing it, that money may not be serving you as well as it could be. On the other hand, having predictable income that covers your basic expenses can give you something a portfolio balance cannot provide by itself: permission to spend. That doesn't mean guaranteed income is always better. It doesn't mean everyone should buy an annuity. It doesn't mean delaying Social Security is always the right answer. And it certainly doesn't mean you should ignore investment growth. It means you should stop treating retirement planning as a competition to see who can die with the largest account balance. The real question is, can your money support the life you worked for? So here's what I want you to do today. Pull up your latest retirement account statements. Write down your total investable assets. Then write down your expected Social Security benefits and any pension income. Next, write down your actual annual spending. Finally, calculate how much of your essential spending is covered by predictable income. You may discover something important. You may not have an asset problem at all. You may have a structure problem. You may have plenty of money, but too much of it sitting in a form that makes you uncomfortable spending it. And that's why the distinction between wealth on paper and usable wealth matters so much. The best retirement isn't necessarily the one where you die with the biggest portfolio. It's the one where your money supports you while you're still here to enjoy it. Build wealth, protect it, but also learn how to use it. Because if your entire retirement strategy is designed around never touching your money, you may successfully preserve the portfolio and accidentally underuse the life that portfolio was supposed to fund. The goal isn't simply to be rich on paper. The goal is to feel financially secure enough to live.